What is good, everybody? It's your boy Jimmy James 59, and in this video, I think this is going to be a good one, folks. I am going to give my thoughts and make some predictions about what I think are going to be the changes to gameplay, changes to the meta that we are going to see in AOE2 DE over the next couple months once we get the new DLC and the balance changes go into effect. Now, over the last few days, there's been a deluge of information coming out about the new DLC, the new expansion pack, because some content creators from Twitch and YouTube have been given access to the brand new DLC. Now, some of you might be wondering, you might be thinking, well, hey, surely Jimmy James 59, he's the world's greatest detective. He has the mind to discover, right? He sees patterns where others see pasta, right? Surely Jimmy would get access to that content, but unfortunately, right, our channel is a pretty new one, only been around for a few months now, and we are growing very quickly, but we're not quite there yet to hit up on their radar. So I'm hoping, right, that if you felt that you missed out on this and that there was a missed opportunity where I could have provided you all the information, the things you want to know, and give you that deep analysis, right? If you're sad that you missed out on that, what I would say, right, first of all, don't be too forlorn, because I have some interesting analysis I'm still going to throw your way. And secondly, right, if you would want to follow the channel, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, like the video. That's going to help us get there, and so you can help us get on that radar, so that way we can have the analysis, so that way you'll be able to get out there, right, be a bit more dominant in your gameplay. Now, I've still got what I think is going to be some really interesting analysis for you. I'm not going to go through all of the balance changes that people are discovering or all the stats on the unique units. I will reference some of them, but I want to send you to some of the really good content creators as well. For those kind of things, people have access, guys like Spirit of the Law and Survivalist and Ornlu, right? Morley Games, I think, has access. There's a lot of channels that have access that can show you exactly the kind of things you're looking for. Mike Empires is out there running 200 units of this and 200 units of that across the map and getting the battle on, right? So love his stuff too. In this video, though, I want to do something that nobody, I think, has done quite yet directly. And I want to think about how the gameplay is going to change. And so that way you can think ahead of time as to what your strategies are going to be going in, so that you can stay one step ahead of your opponent. And so that's what we're going to do here in this video. And I just have a few notes, a few thoughts I want to put out there. Again, part of what I'm doing is I'm taking some of the information we know, and I'm going to be making some predictions. And some of those I'm going out a bit on a limb, but hey, I'm the world's greatest prognosticator, right? Stick with Jim Stradamus here, folks. Now, the first big shift in gameplay, I think, that is going to be obvious is the fact that the dominance that crossbows have enjoyed versus knights is going to be nerfed quite a bit. One thing we do know that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about yet, one thing we do know is it seems that the attack move button has been removed from the game. For anybody who doesn't know, right, using the attack move feature to use your units is something that a lot of mid and high level players use in order to micro their crossbows and other foot archer units. One of the issues that this has been creating in terms of the balance between ranged units and melee units is that when crossbows would move in this, they would kind of speed up or glide through units, and it would cause knights and other melee units to not be able to do damage to them very easily, right? So this was a major problem that we have seen, and it's caused crossbows over the last couple months to become extremely dominant as people have figured this out, because a lot of the ways that we micro those units is using that attack move micro, right? Especially when we have big clusters of groups and it's a bit harder to hit and run. Now, the attack move button, it's unknown, I think, whether it's disappeared for good or it's just being removed from the game temporarily, because it's just been so dominant, right? One of the big differences in attack, move, and patrol has been that when you patrol units and they reach their destination, they turn around, and that's why you see units going back and forth right across the map, continually moving. That's the patrol feature. But attack move was always really useful because you could attack move units across the map, and when they got to their destination, they wouldn't go backwards, right? They would just get to where they were going and await further instructions. So removing the attack feature is going to be pretty important for that, because now you're probably going to want to patrol your units across the map. You just don't want to forget about them, because they actually may turn around and go back in the other direction, right? The way I understand that the attack move feature, right, I don't think the patrols changed at all, right? If it has, that might be something different. I severely doubt they would have changed patrol. But it appears the attack move feature is gone, and so what this should mean for Expos and Knights is that it should greatly help you play Knights against crossbows over the next month or so. So that's something that's really important to notice and to keep in mind. The second thing that I really want to cover here is thinking about the team game meta. One of the things I've been pretty vocal about on this channel is that I really think that the team game meta over the next month or so, we could see some shifting there, right? There's a few reasons for this. The first reason is I do think that this change in the attack move feature is going to have some effect on the team game meta, right? Nerfing crossbows a little bit, allowing knights to get a bit better melee attack surround on them than previously, right? Again, I think that will shift to help make knights a bit more of a force, right? I also think too, the addition of the elephant archer, right? The elephant archer, we're going to see 3 new civilizations have it, and the truth is that we're going to be seeing a lot of play of those new civilizations over the next month, so expect to see them. And I think elephant archers on the flank are going to be really interesting. Another thing that I got right in my predictions, again, Jimstradamus59 coming out, telling you things that you need to know, right? I predicted that the elephant archer that we see in this patch, I predicted that it was going to get its durability nerfed from what we currently have with what were the old generation Indians and will now be the Hindustanis, right? The current elephant archer is going to have 50 less HP and 1 less pierce armor, right? So again, I predicted that would come to you guys, and it looks like it has. I think it's going to cost like 90 food and like 70 gold or something. So this is a pretty interesting change. I will say that even though I predicted that the unit would have its durability reduced, I still think it's going to be really durable overall, because it could be affected by bloodlines as well. Some civilizations have access to Parthian tactics, which is giving a bit more armor that'll help out. And not only that, but civilizations, say for instance the Dravidian, have attacks to firing rates, and in general elephant units, there's a lot of bonuses to the elephant line in general in the new DLC. I think that the elephant archer is going to be a very, very dominant unit. And I think there's a major question of when you're on the flank in a team game against one of these 3 elephant archer civilizations, just what the heck that you do against it, right? I think we could see a lot of flanks opening up with archers, early crossbow play, and then going into elephant archers. And this is a bit different than, say, going into a unit like cavalry archers, for instance, because these units are just so tanky. It could be pretty tough to deal with, I think. And it's different than, say, seeing something like Mangudai, because Mangudai and other sort of cavalry archer class or foot archer units have to be made from a castle. These you can make at ranges, right? And so I think we're going to see some really interesting things going on here. And it is worth noting they do have the 2 base pierce armor. So I'll tell you, these guys are going to be really tanky, and especially, again, I think Dravidians are going to be... Dravidians are my candidate to be the most interesting flank civ here, because not only do they get some good wood bonuses, but they're going to have elephant archers that are going to have a heck of a lot of damage potential, right? Because they fire so much faster. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Elephant archer flanks, I think, really watch for it. It wouldn't surprise me if we see that unit lose a little bit more HP in a subsequent patch. it's possible it could be very, very dominant on the flank. But you're only going to be able to mass it in castle, so we'll probably still see flank players opening up crossbows, right? I would be a little surprised if we see something like, say, I don't know, if you're in a 3v3, something like triple scout plays, and then going into elephant archers. But honestly, you might see it, right? It really does remain to be seen at this point. Now, the other area I think team game meta is going to get really, really interesting is thinking about all the buffs to the camel line, right? And this includes even some of the balance changes to current civilizations, right? If we start off in the feudal age thinking about this, right? The Gurjaras with the camel scout now. I think that you're going to see a lot of camel scouts, this civilization showing up in the pocket. I think we're going to see some camel scouts here, folks, and you're really going to have to think about what to do when you're going up against that, because the thing about the camel scout is that it's a pretty durable unit, actually, right? It has 70 base hit points, so it is not a weak unit, really, right? It has a lot more HP than a typical scout. It costs a bit more. That's very true. So it might be, you might have to get it up and running, you might have to play it differently, right? You're probably going to be making a mining camp in the Dark Age, right? Similar to how you might open up with something like archers, right? So that way you have the gold to be able to afford Camel Scout production. But it's going to be really interesting to see how the Camel Scout takes the field and affects the feudal age balance and just how you deal with it, right? Could be very interesting here. The second thing, right, is that Gurjara camels that have a tech, right? Once you get because Camel Scouts, they become camel riders, right? So they transform into them upon hitting castle age. So with the Gurjaras, just to stay on them for a moment, Gurjaras, right, you're going to be able to mass camel riders much quicker than other civilizations. And so remember, camels counter cavalry, and if knights are going to be a bit more dominant with the change to attack move, this is going to get pretty interesting, I think. Now, the Gurjaras also have technologies, right? They have good heavy camels. They can get more melee armor on them, I believe, right? And I think that they can even reduce the food discount, or the food cost on them, rather, too. So Gurjaras are going to be super interesting, I think, here as a pocket civ. I think that the Hindustanis are going to be a really, really interesting pocket civilization themselves. Now that their camel line are going to be attacking faster, they will shred knights like you don't believe, right? Oh, something I didn't mention about the Gurjaras as well. They do extra bonus damage from their mounted units, right? That's gonna be pretty wild, I think, because if we're thinking about mounted units, right, we're gonna be thinking about units doing bonus damage, right? Camels is one, but also elephant archers, right? Elephant archers, at least in the current armor class, the current bonus damage, they do a little bit extra bonus damage against cavalry archers, right? That could be really interesting to keep in mind here. Now, getting back to the Hindustanis, right? Extra attack with your camels is going to be really interesting, I think, as well. Also, the fact that the light cavalry line now for the Hindustanis are going to be doing bonus damage against buildings. It might be pretty difficult to wall up against Hindustani camels, right? You're going to have to get to repair those walls much quicker, because they're going to be doing that +2 damage. So something really to think about when going up against those civs, and that might affect the meta here. Also thinking about the Shravamsha rider from the Gujaras, right? How is that going to affect the archer units, right, in this meta, right? They are a unit that seems like they'll suffer against knights, but if you put Shravamsha riders and camels together, could be really, really interesting. The Saracen zealotry The Saracen zealotry technology has been moved to Castle Age. So in late Castle Age, you could have camels with quite a bit of hit points, right? I believe 150 hit points. Camel riders in Castle Age. That is nothing to sneeze at here. That's something that might be able to tank even quite a bit of archer fire, right? We're going to have to see how that plays out. The last thing I think about here, too, is to think about perhaps battle elephants in the pockets. Again, we have so many elephant bonuses, things that are allowing elephant units to do things like regenerate HP. that's going to get pretty interesting, folks. Going to get really interesting. We might see more civilizations going with battle elephant pockets. Now, the third thing I want to think in here, and this might affect the team game meta as well, but I wonder if we're going to see games going later, right? When we think about the team game meta right now, right? We have in the last DLC, right? We have the Bohemians, right? Increasing the speed of markets. In this patch, right? We're seeing a bonus that I believe it's the Bengalis, where trade is also generating food. The Hindustanis are getting a unique building that speeds up trade carts and also helps heal them if you build it along their path. We're starting to see some bonuses that suggest that maybe, right, these team games, if you find yourself in the late game, could go a bit longer, right? Not only that, but we've also seen, for instance, with the Burgundian vineyard technology, right? That was something that was changed a while back to give farmers the ability to make gold, right? That's something that affects the late game. Very recently with the Vietnamese, the paper money technology in this patch is being changed so that way lumberjacks are going to generate gold for the Vietnamese. Again, it's going to be hard to play against Vietnamese late, folks. Not only that, right, but the Feitoria from the Portuguese sounds like it's getting I believe it's wood and its gold cost switched around. So now Feitorias are going to generate more gold, and Imperial Age going to generate less wood. So this might make water maps go a little less longer because wood is such a major resource in ship production. But, right, and something like a land map, Feitoria, generating a lot of gold, could be a problem for some civs. And lastly, the Slavs new bonus. I think we're going to be seeing some play from Slavs in the new update because they have a technology where they can replace 40% of the stone cost of their castles and towers with wood. So you may see maps that have lots of Slav castles peppered around. That's going to get really, really interesting, right? Slavs have a pretty decent castle already in terms of its performance statistics. If you want to check out my tier list on castles, which just came out last weekend, I highly encourage you to check it out. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video so you can jump on that. Now, another change I think we're going to see in the gameplay that we want to watch out for is the return of the tower rush, right? We're seeing that watchtowers are having their hit points increased in the Dark and Feudal Age. Same with the donjons, actually. And the watchtower is going to go from having 700 HP to 850. Now, this is not as much HP as they used to have in the HD Voobly days, but it's still a pretty big increase. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that if you can get that watchtower up, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for villagers to batter it down, which is going to affect both the offense and the defense, right? I think it means that these towers are going to stay up. You're probably going to have more villagers that are garrisoned for longer, repairing, doing all those sorts of things. And not only that, but in Castle Age, right? In Castle Age, I think that the HP is going to remain the same. I'm not sure. But if you're thinking about battering down, right, watchtowers, because usually, let's be real, like a lot of times that they, don't get upgraded, right? So you're kind of stuck with what you got there. And so I think watchtowers are going to be really, really interesting. Might not affect the Castle Age meta as much. I don't know if they're getting extra HP there. Again, right? If they gave Jimmy access to the DLC, I'd be able to tell you for certain, but that's not what they did, right? Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel so that way we get on the list next time for the next DLC, because let's be real, you know it's coming sometime down the line. Now, tower rushing may be coming back. So again, I say this, watch out in your gameplay. You may see tower rushes coming your way, and you're going to want to make sure you have your defenses in your back pocket. The next thing I want to go into is thinking about expanded naval play. We're getting 2 new naval civilizations. We have a lot of water bonuses with the new civs. A new warship is going to be on the scene, right? We saw that the Portuguese changed to the Feitoria. Again, I think that the developers, just from what we're looking at here, it seems like there's some naval and water gameplay that is in mind here. I would not be surprised if we see in the map pool a higher frequency of water maps And so you might be worried about this. You might say, Jimmy, I don't know how to play water. Don't worry about it, right? This past week, I just released a build order to show you how to execute the perfect galley rush. So again, I highly encourage you to check that out. In fact, I think I'll put a video linking to that also at the end of this video, so you not only can take a look at my beautiful castle tier list, but since there's probably going to be more water play, if you would rather swim than sink, you're going to want to know how to galley rush. Don't worry, Jimmy's got you covered. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is I want to think about the fact that I would anticipate we're going to see a lot more unique unit strategies here, right? And in particular, we may see more mono unit compositions, right? We have the Rotha Chariot from, I believe it's the Bengalis, right? That is a cavalry archer and also melee cavalry unit. Really has stats that are approximating heavy cavalry in some ways, right? It has some decent melee armor. It only looks like it's going to have 1 pierce armor, but I think it's still going to be able to hold out pretty strong. And this is going to be a unit, it's got range, it's got melee. I think it's going to be difficult to counter because it should be able to run away from halbs and pikes, and then it should be able to charge skirmishers. So the Rotha Chariot is going to be extremely interesting here. The Sicilians, right, they did get the technology to halberd. The cost increased, but the food and the gold cost have gone up by 200. So I think now it's 700 food, 600 gold, so it's quite expensive to get to now. But the point is they're still around, and those gem halberd cavaliers have been impressive for quite a while now. And because they take less bonus damage, and it doesn't, at least to my current knowledge, I don't think we've seen any changes to the Sicilian bonus damage. It seems pretty stable. Halberd is still stable, so you're still going to have those really high damage absorbing and high archer countering cavaliers. So this is going to be a pretty interesting unit. It looks like it's here at least over the next month or two. It's here to stay in that 8 pierce armor capacity. And so you're probably going to see that in your gameplay if you haven't already started seeing that. The Elephant Archer, right? Again, it's kind of a unique unit. It's a regional unit. I think you're going to see a lot of Elephant Archer pushes. So you're going to want to be prepared for that, right? It's going to be really interesting to see how we deal with Elephant Archers, right? What are the strategies that are going to need to be employed here? Because they're a very, very tanky unit. It's going to be difficult sometimes to close in on them, right? So one thing I would really beware of are all-in Elephant Archer pushes in Castle Age, kind of maybe even some Huang-style pushes, right? Where we see something like Siege and Elephant Archers. I think it's going to be a really tough unit to stop. And we've also have unique units already in the game, things like Hussite wagons, right? War wagons that already have some appeal like that are just really difficult for units to stop. And my point is that we seem to be getting a bit more of those really strong unique units. It's unclear whether they're going to be nerfed, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of things that we don't know how strong they're going to be. So I think you're going to see, because we have this new DLC, don't be surprised if you start seeing a lot of units out there on the street that you haven't seen before. So, you know, again, this was kind of a smattering of the bonuses here, and I'm just trying to include that in the video. And I'm just trying to give you a sense of what is probably coming. I think things are going to be really difficult to predict. I mean, like, apparently flaming camels are going to do some bonus attack against buildings now, right? I think it's like plus 200. Is that changing the game too much on them? Probably not. But again, what it shows you is that there's a lot of things that are in flux. And I really think of all of the DLCs that we've received, this one is truly the most impactful since the last cons. And I think that you could make a really big argument that this could be even much more impactful given the uniqueness of the units. The Elephant Archer is a regional unit, and just all of the uniqueness that we're going to see in the civilizations. So I'm curious, right? What kind of things do you think are going to be in the next patch? What are you thinking about with your gameplay? Are you worried about some things? Are you concerned about others? Are you excited about others? Do you have strategies that you want to try, right? That you can't wait, right, until like next week when we get the DLC. I know that I'm going to be in the lab creating some build orders, right, to help you guys out, analyzing these units and giving you that analysis so that way you can get on the ladder, you get after it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get off this video, and I'm probably going to hit the ladder myself. And hey, like I mentioned before, right, hope you subscribe. If you don't do it for me, folks, do it for the Hussars. So with that, I'm Jim James 59, and I'm out. Peace.